What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Can't Afford a Therapist podcast. Apologize for my voice. You're just gonna have to deal with it, just like I've been dealing with it. Today, my guest is Janda Farley, aka the woman that steals all of my money to make me beautiful. What's going on, Janda?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was stealing. You seem to
No,
give it to me willingly. Let's be real here.
no. There was very. I did give it to you willingly, and I
Uh,
was very happy to give it to you, even though you did stab me technically for 4 hours.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of my job.
Yeah. And so about how did you get into this job?
Oh man, I think a part of me always was fascinated with tattoos. I remember when I was like, I want to say like 8 or 9, my mom came home with a tattoo. She'd been like super excited about it. She was like, "It's my first tattoo. It's gonna be a sword with like vines around it and a sunburst." And I was like, "There's no way they're gonna have that on the wall. Like, what are you talking about?" And then she came home and is exactly how I imagined it, exactly how she imagined it. And I was like, "Oh my God, wait, you can get anything on your body. Oh, this is gonna be fun." So always fascinated with them. I tried to get an apprenticeship, my first one at 19, and that did not work out. It was a very scammy sort of like predicament. This guy basically handed you a contract, and he's like, "All right, if you sign this, it means that I'm giving you a free apprenticeship. But if you get fired for not doing your job, or if you leave before this year is up, you owe me $5,000." And the gist of that was that every single apprentice had been fired right before their day, like the day that would make it a year, and they would owe him $5,000. But I don't think it was actually legally binding. But I was 19, so fuck that.
That doesn't sound legally binding. It sounds very illegal.
It's very loose and yeah.
What
But I didn't
state?
know.
What state was it?
Florida.
So who knows? They've got like a pamphlet of laws down there.
They have their own. It's very Mad Max, only with more water. So it's more like
It's
water.
salty. It's salt water.
It's
So it's
salty. Too much salt. But yeah, after that, I got another apprenticeship that didn't really go anywhere, and then I had a third apprenticeship when I was 24. So, or yeah, 24. So I'm coming up on 10 years now, but it's been a wild ride. It's a lot harder for women, or it was a lot harder for women to like get into the tattoo industry
yeah,
10 years ago.
and that's why I wanted to talk to you because it's always been such like a male dominated
Mm,
industry, and like essentially right, I watch Masters Inc. and like all the fun stuff on TV, and they're always saying like whenever there's like one or two girl contestants on there, like it's hard to break into the boys club, and I'm like that's like you don't really think about that, but like from a male perspective, like I never really noticed it, but like when they start talking about women start talking about it, you're like, oh shit, like there's not really many women tattoo artists. That's why I kind of like going to you guys because it's mainly women and it's a lot more diverse at Three Kings where you guys are, which is I think is a lot better because you get more like artistic styles, different perspectives, which can translate into different types of art.
yeah, no, 100%. Um, no, I would say that like now it's not a lot better, but it is a lot better than it was 10 years ago. There's still a lot of diversification that needs to happen in the industry. Like for instance, it's very rare that you will find a shop that is, you know, run by somebody who's a part of the LGBTQ community, or like somebody that is not even running a shop. Most of the time, that's what they have to do in order to be included in the industry. But you won't find a regular shop that like usually employs people of color, people in the LGBTQ community, especially men. Um, Men in the LGBTQ community. So there's a lot more inclusiveness that needs to happen, but we're on a pretty good projection there.
And that's like
But
wild for me to think about, like especially with like the way tattoo culture has changed
mm,
too, and with society and everything. Like everyone's tattooed now. Like 20 years ago it was taboo, and now it's like taboo that if you don't have one.
I think that, I mean, it shouldn't be taboo if you don't have one. I fully believe as a tattoo artist who makes my money doing what I do, then not everybody needs a tattoo. But what I will say is that like you're absolutely right. But I also think it's very much a societal thing too. Like I would say here in America it was taboo, but it's been a prevalent form of crossing into adulthood for many, many cultures for several fucking centuries. So like it's not a new thing, but I think that the way that we perceive it is very new. And I love that. I feel like, specifically here in New York, I would say that for a long, long time, tattoos were kind of indicative of like this really seedy underbelly of the New York City, like, kind of culmination. And it wasn't until 98 that tattoos even became legal in New York City. So
Wait,
I can,
really?
oh yeah, dude.
I didn't
It
even
was,
know that.
yeah, not until 98 was it legal to actually have tattoo shops in New York City. Before then, it was all underground. It was all basically kind of run in this very sort of seedy way. A lot of like bike gangs, a lot of like underground artists that just didn't have like a thing. But yeah, so in New York, I would say that the older generation of people will see it as something bad because they were raised in an environment where tattoos were bad. They were, identifiers of gangs or like, these clubs that you belong to. And that was, those rough and tumble times. But now it's as easy as like getting like a very fine line on your wrist, and then that's the only tattoo that you have. There's so many different ways and styles that you can pick from now that we didn't even have back then. And the technology for tattoos just keeps getting better and better, and it allows people to feel more comfortable in the way that they express themselves. So I think it's a lot of different circumstances coming together that make it more accessible. But I am happy that more people are opening up to the idea of putting permanent art on their bodies. So,
That's very interesting because right, isn't Sailor Jerry like a Navy guy and the guy that started the Americana thing during World War II? Like I figured that would put a more impact on like tattoo culture and society, and then having it be illegal, which I was not aware of. I know plenty of people who have tattoos before '98, so
sure.
like, so that was a shock to me. But like, like Mr. Rogers wore the sweater because he had tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would think it'd be more, I don't know, more accepted for like longer. It's just weird to me to hear that.
I don't know if the Mr. Rogers being tattooed thing is real.
Not real. Don't kill me right now.
I don't think it is. I think that well, so like they also said that he went to like Vietnam and he was like a sniper or something, but I don't, if I'm wrong, please tell me, but like I don't remember if that's real or not. He was a pastor, so I highly doubt that he was tattooed. So
It's not true.
ah,
Oh.
ah, oh my god, I was like, I'm a huge fan of Mr. Rogers and I'm totally down for being wrong, but I don't necessarily think that's true.
Oh, I was like, he's the badass under that sweater.
No. He's just a very cold man. But yeah, no. I think that Sailor Jerry was like the major icon for Americana, but I don't necessarily think he was the first or the father. I'm not a traditional tattoo artist. I appreciate tattoo history, American tattoo history, but I'm more indebted into like ancient tattoos. Like that's my kind of historical background. There's a lot of people that like really love American tattoos. They study everything about it. They think of it as the pathway to modern tattooing, and it is in a lot of ways, especially technically. But I, you know, I have a very limited knowledge of that history, so I can't say for sure. But what I do know is that there were other people paving the way in American tattoos even before Sailor Jerry, like freak shows in the 20s and the 10s and the 1890s. Like they were full of people, the painted ones, that were like covered in tattoos and considered freaks for the same bodysuits that we see running around rampant today, even more so.
That
So
are like considered high art.
yeah, 100%. And it's like, you know, it's kind of interesting when you think about it because you're paying, your body is so expensive, like you're paying so much money. Even back then, like it was still money that you're putting into modifying your body. I've always found that to be the most fascinating part. The way that we kind of switched out tattoos as being like a freak show oddity type thing to being more mainstream. I think that that's incredible. But anyway,
Well, you just said more ancient tattooing, right? So
sure.
isn't like old school, like the Vikings had tattoos. There were like Egyptians with tattoos. Like tattoos have been around for a long ass time.
Oh, for sure. The oldest known mummy that we know of that has tattoos. is this woman called the Ice Maiden. And maybe it's not the oldest, because we did just have an art show at Three Kings about a mummy that was dug up, and I think he's the oldest one, but he has like these red tattoos on his ankle and like on his arms and stuff. It's really neat. But the Ice Maiden, oh my God, I'm turning this off. I'm so
That's
sorry.
fine.
But I the Ice Maiden is like BC. She was found in like what's modern day Netherlands, and she's like the most amazing thing ever. She has this um deer that's like it's like a Celtic deer that goes down her entire arm, and it kind of goes, I think she has another thing down her side, and she was buried with two massive bags of weed, and her horses, I believe. And I found that to be really cool. It's like I want to know who this badass was. And
Yeah,
I don't
like what's that story?
seriously, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, whoa, dude. I there is like a mini documentary about her. I Sorry, give me 1 second. I
That's
just
fine.
want to turn off the sound effects for this. Okay.
It's okay. No, but like, it's very interesting though. Like you're saying, like, a woman was buried in BC with two horses, two bags of wheat. Like, seems very important.
Yep.
Again, what changed? Like, I don't understand how that changed. Like, women were very prominent back then. In ancient times, they were like, women pharaohs, queens, like, controlled so much shit, and then it like became to the point where now it's hard to get into the industry. Like,
Uh,
what the fuck is going on?
well, in some cultures, like I don't remember the name of the tribe. Um, Terrible with names in general, but there is this tribe, I want to say off the Philippines, where there is this woman who is the oldest tattoo artist in her tribe. She does it a very specific way. And I think that the whole tribe of the tattoo artists in the tribe are all women. So I think, like, again, I think it's a societal thing. I had this conversation with a friend of mine recently where we were talking about women's rights and how women are, kind of always kind of put last on societal scales, but that's not true either. Like in ancient Egypt, women were seen as advisors, very wise women. And then in modern day India, and even before in Indian history, women were sought for their wisdom. They weren't looked down upon for being smarter or more intelligent. They weren't like talked down to for being more artistic. Crimes against women happen in every country, but the way that we treat women is very much a societal and like circumstantial thing. So like even in other countries, women can do anything a man can do. And that's been that way for centuries. I think it's just about how we perceive, our experiences, like personally. So I think that in America, that's definitely something to be desired. But I think we're getting there, and that's nice. So,
I can wrap that up for you in like 3 words:
please.
America's ass backwards.
Yeah. In every single way possible.
Oh my
Yes.
god, yeah, but we can have a separate podcast on that.
It's true. It's very true.
So, like, well, while we were getting to know each other during my sessions, you said you started in animation, right? Is that
I did.
correct?
I did.
So, how is the transition from animation to tattooing?
Oh man, I mean, it went through several different courses actually. It wasn't just a straight shot. But yeah, no, I'd always wanted to be an animator. Like I knew I was an artist of some sort when I was younger. I taught myself how to draw. And then I was like, I was obsessed with Sailor Moon. And I figured that like these new ideas of like what could be a cartoon. I'd never seen a cartoon where like there were female superheroes and like doing all this sparkly, beautiful shit. I was like mind blown. So after that, I was like, wow. So like I can literally make my own cartoons. Like I can make these things move. And I was really into 90s anime and like 80s anime.
Hell yeah.
And I loved claymation. I knew that was something I wanted to do. But then I went to school for it. And by that time I had been painting. I was an oil painter. And I started getting picked up as an oil painter, doing more shows, doing more like gigs essentially. And I was like, well, fuck animation. Like the school that I went to wasn't even adequate for the animation program they were trying to provide. You can call it that. By the time people were graduating, their reels were dog shit. I was like, there's no way anybody's gonna get hired unless you were doing some severe outside homework. So I just kind of got disenchanted by the school. I got disenchanted by the industry. Like at that point, 2D labs had closed at Disney. So I was like, well, fuck, I don't want to do 3D animation. I just want to do 2D animation or claymation. And so I was like, well, fuck it. If that's not
So we're gonna continue where we left off, but I'm just gonna just just say this right now.
you're
This
fine.
kind of shit fucking happens to me all the time on Zoom.
Mhm.
I'm starting to hate Zoom with a burning passion. I don't know why it does this to me every time. Like my internet's fine. Nothing is on. It's just like, nah, not enough internet for Zoom.
So greedy. It's so greedy. What can you say?
I don't get it. I don't get it. It just wants everything. All right, where were we? Animation. You weren't liking it. School sucked. Oil paintings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
That's pretty
pretty,
much the gist of it.
pretty much it. Yeah, I
Okay.
know. And I
Did,
like I did oil paintings, and then after I did that for a while, it was one of those circumstances that I kind of talk about sometimes, which is like you think it's your dream job to do the thing that you're doing as a hobby, and then it starts to suck the life out of you and all the joy that you had for it, and then you just don't even want to touch it anymore. So I also got an offer I couldn't refuse as far as like my last apprenticeship. I never thought I was going to be able to tattoo at that point. But then this artist that I loved, who had, kind of, I think fate knew we were going to like be really close, or like we were going to be like really good friends, because my first boyfriend was somebody that he grew up with. And I had heard about him through my ex. And
interesting.
he reached out to me. We had known each other's artwork. He's an amazing artist as well, an amazing tattoo artist. And he reached out and he was like, "Hey, I just got a shop and I'm in need of an apprentice. And I know that you were trying to, like, do you want to be my apprentice?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I do." So that was like the perfect environment for me to like learn and grow in. It was very artistic or it's art forward, creativity forward. And just like so full of storytelling. It was the best environment for me to learn how to kind of get in my own body about my imagination and how I wanted to connect with people. I feel like the the experience that I had as an apprentice really shaped how I go into tattoos myself. Like my mentor is incredibly intuitive and he's very empathetic. He has these amazing conversations with his clients, makes them feel seen, makes them feel heard. And I was like, wow, that's really beautiful. Like that's magical. And so I knew that whenever I went into tattooing and I started developing the clientele of people that I have, I wanted to be a place for them to feel comfortable being vulnerable, And so, yeah, I think that in that respect, this was the right place for me, and in a lot of respects, quite honestly, like you connect with people in a much deeper way because they're being super vulnerable. They're literally getting stabbed on a table. They're
Yeah.
bleeding. So you want to approach that with respect and empathy. And when when I have somebody there that doesn't want to talk and they just want to enjoy the experience of getting tattooed, that's also perfectly fine. But in a lot of ways, that's not how that works. We're very much, therapists without degrees, essentially. Um, I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I told you some shit.
It's true. It's true. And, like I find that to be like the most magical part is like people are so upfront about their shit, or the things that they otherwise wouldn't tell people, or the things that they don't usually talk about. Very personal and deep things, and it feels like an honor to hear those things from my clients, and to be able to keep them safe and not really expose them and not interrupt or give unwanted advice, but just to be like, oh, that sucks. I can fucking hear that. Holy shit, dude. It sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Just being enough to hear somebody, I think, is like one of the best parts of what I do. So,
But all right, well, you're like the tattooing is like a unique kind of thing for that situation though, because a lot of people, most people are getting something that means something to them on their
sure.
body, like, and you were now a part of that experience. Like you are putting that, like I don't know, memento, that snapshot of their life, whatever they want to consider that part of them.
Mhm.
You're responsible for creating that. So like it's inherently an intimate relationship between client and tattoo artist, especially when like the tattoos have like a deeper meaning to them, and like if you're willing to talk about it, because you're there a part of the process, and like sometimes that tattoo is the healing process, and
Yeah.
you're like allowing that, which again, like you don't really think about when you're like just like browsing tattoo Instagrams and stuff. But like that's a huge part of it. And like that's what I also think makes tattooing so beautiful is because it's like it is this intimate relationship of healing between like these two people that don't know each other that are coming together through art. Like it's just very, very interesting, very unique,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very personal because it's one on one.
100%. And even if the tattoo doesn't mean anything to somebody, which sometimes happens, people get
True.
goofy shit all the time.
I've got some of those. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah, we all do. But like even then, like I think that there's a degree of trust that you're giving to this person that they're not going to hurt you more than they have to. They're going to be as gentle as possible. They care about the tattoo and the craftsmanship that goes into it, and they're not going to be a dick to you. Because even like there's nothing worse than coming to somebody and saying like, "Hey, I have this really important thing that I want to get on my body," and then you see that they're full of ego and like this like better than you type mentality, which I think is poison in our industry. But I would say that for the most part, at least at our shop, everybody's really nice. Everybody kind of understands the sacred nature between your client and you. It's what makes us, a great shop. It's what makes us like a place where people feel comfortable coming to get those very sacred talismans on them. In the style that they prefer. That's the cool part is we're basically shaman or however you want to say it, but like we are like kind of we're the I don't gatekeeper was the word that came to mind, but I realize that has like a really negative connotation, so I'm not going to say that, but I will say that we are the guides into helping you express yourself into the best person that you've always wanted to be. We are, artists of skin, and that's totally different than somebody that just does something on paper. There are many different things that are limited by the amount of things that we can do with needles on skin. So we have to make it the best, most viable thing that we can, in so much as like how far we want to take that creativity and the technical aspect of it. And that's a lot of trust. That's a lot to put on our shoulders, like, hey, I want you to do this really wonderful portrait of my grandmother in color on my chest. It's like, well, I better be on my fucking A game or this is going to look like, somebody from Golden Girls. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
there's a lot of trust that goes into that. And I think that that is the most exhilarating part, but also the most like, there's a lot of pressure there, but um, in summary, I would just say that like, yeah, I mean, it's a deeply, deeply personal process. And I think that I always say this, and I find it to be so true rather than not, but the tattoo artist always finds the right client or the tattoo finds the right client. It kind of is a very weird sort of mystical connection between people. Most of the time, there are definitely people that don't fit that, but
I like that you say that because then you just said something that like I don't know, it triggered something in my head that like I liked. Tattoos are sacred talismans. I don't know. I've never heard that expression before, but now I'm running with it. I love it.
it's true. It's true. Even if you get like the silliest shit on your body, it means something to you in that you are totally down to wear it for the rest of your life or, whatever, if you don't get it lasered off or
Yeah.
whatever. But, like you have a dedication to getting this, and that in itself says something about you. It is a picture that depicts something about you, even if it's not something easily translated by the people around you. It is there, it is visible, it is on the outside of you. So it is something that you carry with you and it gives you power. It does. Every time that somebody leaves my chair, if I've done my job right, they feel good about themselves. They feel excited about their body changing. There's an evolution happening. And it is like, it is, what's the word? It's alchemy. It is physical alchemy to make you be the person you've always wanted to be in some small way, sometimes very big ways. I know for me personally, I haven't been tattooed. I have a leg sleeve that's been in progress for about a year and a half, 2 years, and I have not seen my mentor who's working on it in over a year. And that's really hard for me. It's been almost 2 years and I haven't seen any progress on my leg, and it makes me fucking anxious. I want to see that shit move.
Yeah.
But what I mean to say is that, like, for a lot of people, getting tattooed is a regular, regimented way of evolving. And it means a lot to somebody to see their body change into the thing that they want. And even in small ways, like in your case, your tattoo is, a journey. We talk about that all the time. where it is such a big piece and it's so much going into it that it has to be about the journey rather than the finish line. In most cases, that finish line is really sad. It's like you spend so much time with somebody, you're working through it, you both go on separate journeys to get this piece done. And for you, or for the client, I would say that when it comes to an end, there's like almost the same feeling that you get when you watch this really great show for years and years, and then it comes to an end. A good end, not a Game of Thrones, but like, so like, it's there's a wave of emotions that come with longer pieces like that, and I think that the major one that I feel in my experience is um, identity, feeling more like myself than I did before I went in.
Yeah, and I named the episode, and it's something that I've said to you during our sessions. It's painful to be beautiful, right?
Oh,
And it's you got to put the work into it, and a lot of like the tattooing stuff is a lot of it's mental too, with the physical change that comes with it. Like the amount of like when I was coming in every like what 5 6 weeks for this piece, the start of it, I every time I left, I felt like a brand new person. It was
Mhm.
like it's that change, that mental change that you get from it. It's incredible. I that's something that I love from tattooing. And
Sure.
like every time you look at it, like it can bring you back to that spot,
Yep.
And it's so good. That's why I like to call it like snapshots of your life at the moment. Like that
100%.
doesn't have to have meaning because it meant something to you at that time. Like and
Mhm.
that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think that that's the best way to put it, actually, is like these are snapshots of your life. Because, like, when you're 50, you're going to look at some of your tattoos and be like, um, you can like look at it and just be like, oh, I remember like so much from that year, or I remember how I was feeling when I got this. And that in itself is a part of the alchemy of this, is it takes you back to a place where you were at that point in your life, and it keeps it in a very visceral memory. So when somebody comes in for a piece that is like a memorial piece or something that they're getting in a moment of pain, and it's depicting painful things, or it's depicting like very morbid things, I always kind of have a separate session, a very private session with them, and I'll set them alone, take them outside, do something, and I'll just be like, hey, listen, I'm down to do whatever you want me to do. Like, this isn't me telling you I'm not going to do this, but are you sure that you want to put this feeling of sadness and sorrow in your skin forever? Because it has a lasting effect on you. And in most cases, like I have this one client who was very upset. He was going through a really tough time in his life. And I sat him down. He wanted like a barren tree with birds. And I was like, well, how about we don't do that? Because he's like, life feels so empty. I don't want to do this. And um, I was like, well, let's think about this. I was like, we can do that. We can do some sense of hopelessness and loss, but let's put hope into it too. Because like I'm down for any sort of like decrepit, morbid sort of like iconography and visuals, but it's different whenever somebody's going through a hard time and they're doing this almost impulsively.
Yeah.
So I showed him an idea that I had that kind of encompassed both. He loved it. We got it. He's doing so much better. And this is like 3 years later. I'm working on him still. He is moving on. He's doing great things in his life. He's getting it together. And it's like, that's what I wanted. It's not necessarily about what I want either, but what I want to do is empower people. You can have a hard time and you can totally ingrain that, because there's power in knowing that you came from struggle, but there's also power in knowing that that's not where you drop anchor. That's not where you leave everything. So I that's how I look at that. Like it's very much a reactive thing sometimes, and you just want to make sure that they're doing it for the right reasons and that it's not going to be a scar. You know.
It's a very interesting story because I'm kind of like complete opposite right now with this tattoo. So I have two memorial pieces. The Flatbush Zombie logo, which is what we're working around, and why the colors are what the colors are on this one side. And then I have Wolverine on my leg for another friend of mine who passed away. Yeah, his that was his nickname, Wolverine. So I'm like, let me get that like just like a little outline, like a shading of like the Wolverine logo. I don't like to do anything too like sad, especially because it does keep you in that mindset. Like that's why I wanted to have the little smiley face on on the sunflower, you know? It gives you
Yeah.
that little bit of a boost. Like, pain pain is not eternal as like people would like you to think. It's fleeting. Like, time, like, it's cliche to say time heals all wounds, but like
Mhm.
it's true. Like, shit gets a little bit easier. Like you figure it out a little bit better. Especially for me, maybe I'm weird in the way I look at life, but like
Sure.
when I go through trauma, it gives me a new perspective on like, you know, sure I'll be sad, sure I'll go through my moments of blues, but like now I know like, yo, it can end any moment. Why
Mhm.
not live it up? Like enjoy
Yeah.
this thing. Like I talked to you about like my shitty job and all that stuff. I quit that job. I got a better job. Like
Yeah.
the money's not great, hence why this tattoo's on pause.
It's
But like
temporary.
exactly, because like, as I'm talking to my coworker, he's dealing with the same shit. He's like, and as he's talking to people that he knows higher up in the ladder in the industry, and they're like, listen, don't worry about the money. The money will come eventually. Right now, you got to just suck it up. Like you're meeting excellent people. So I don't even know if I should say this, but whatever. One of the guys I worked with yesterday was I don't know if you're familiar with the show Video Music Video Box.
I'm not.
It's a show from the 80s. I wasn't aware of it either. It's a hip hop show. And this guy was like a major factor in hip hop in the 80s. Jay-Z, Nas, like there's a documentary coming out about him like soon.
Nice.
Yeah, incredible man. Right. And I would never have this experience unless I'm like, fuck it, let's be broke for a little bit
Sure.
and learn, like be this apprentice, like kind of situation that I found myself in. And every part of life is a part of like growing and like and tattoos are just like that. Those building blocks. I see like that was this part, that was this part. I don't know. It gives me like more of a sense of joy. I don't like that. I like sad shit. Like, I like my like sad music and stuff. But like
Sure.
when it comes to attaching it to your body, I think it should be. I always has to have like a glimmer of hope, I guess.
Sure. And also I think you touched on something that like I found really profound. And it also ties into tattoos. Tattoos as a metaphor for growth. Growing is uncomfortable. And you're going through this tough spot right now. And I agree with your friend, like money will come to you. Like do the thing you love, just focus on doing what you want to fucking do instead of trying to figure out ways to get there. Just focus on that shit, dive into the deep end and just go for it. You'll be a lot happier, but also it's uncomfortable. But like a tattoo, you want the thing. You're willing to sacrifice your comfort and your money and various other like your physical strength. You get weakened by tattoos. Like
And
you're
shit
willing to
wipes
go
you
through.
out.
It
You
does.
warned me and I didn't believe you. You're like, listen, colored tattoos are gonna fuck you up for like a day. And I was like, nah, I'm good. And then I laid down for 2 days
Yep.
dying.
You get the best sleep of your life though.
Oh, it
That's
was
like my
great.
favorite.
Hmm.
Oh, but yeah, no, it's like you want the thing. You put in so much sacrifice for the thing. And in the end, you get the thing, but it wasn't easy. It's not like you're just sitting there at a spa and then all of a sudden your tattoo's done. You got to work for it. There has to be some sacrifice, like physically, for that to be done. And I feel like this is exactly the same thing. Tattoos are a metaphor for life. You're not going to get out unscathed. Like you're not going to get out without giving a little bit of blood. You have to like sacrifice for the things that you want. And I fully endorse that. And I know you're going to do the best. Like you're going to do the thing that you've been meaning to do. You don't have any excuses. Like right now you're in the prime opportunity to pursue whatever the fuck you want to pursue and the sky is the limit. Like I'm
I,
actually kind of jealous whenever I meet people that are like, well, I stopped doing the thing I hated doing and now I have no other option. And I'm like, you're about to go through some super cool shit.
so I was always nervous to take that plunge, but there's like this whole movement right now where people are quitting their fucking job left and right. And I'm like, you know what? I'm getting involved.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And just so many other people were doing it. Like The Office. You know, I love The Office, a good show. I kind of hate like using it as a reference because everybody uses it as a reference. But Oscar, there's an episode where Oscar is like, I like when people quit their jobs. It makes me feel like other people have a grasp of control over their life, which I don't have. Like that's
Yeah.
what he was saying. And I was like, that's exactly how I felt before I took the plunge. And like
Yeah.
right now, I have, a lot of opportunities right now to work on a lot of my projects while simultaneously becoming more credible and way more professional in the career that I want to build, which is a fucking wild situation. It's just like, money's not great, but like, listen,
Sure.
money will come. That's what I got to keep reminding myself. And then
Mhm.
listen, when my money comes, it's coming straight to you, Janda.
Well, I want you to take care of yourself first.
Of
We've talked
course.
about that too.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
take
yeah.
care of yourself first. This is a luxury, but
Yeah.
I'm super looking forward to it. And like, here's the thing, you know, I don't like, I'm just using this as like a metaphor of
Mhm.
like, or not a metaphor, but actually like a validation story. But like, dude, when I moved to New York, I worked at the shittiest fucking shop I could find because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was only tattooing for a year and then I left because I had a golden opportunity to live in the city I'd always wanted to live in. And dude, I fucking suffered. Like I was making like maybe $600 a month. Maybe. And like half of that was for my rent for like half a room that I was sharing with my best friend at the time. So I ate shit for fucking years. And it's not until like recently that I started like being able to have a full life. In the time that I've been at Three Kings, it gave me a full life. It gave me a living doing the thing that I've always wanted to do. But it took forever to get there, dude. Like I wish that I had just like I wish I had been able to streamline into the thing that made me happier. Even when I was struggling, I was so happy.
Doesn't
Like
everybody though? Wish they could streamline into that.
well,
It'll
some
make
people just
life
don't
much
want to
easier.
do.
They do.
So yeah, no, I think you're right in a way, but like I didn't know how much joy it would bring me. I was just so happy to be doing something that connected so well to other people. And man, like it does make a difference. It makes your entire quality of life so much better. This like huge, massive walkout from jobs that don't treat their employees well, they don't pay them enough, they don't care about their well-being. It's just like, dude, no, nobody should have to work under those conditions. If you want to work at a job that treats you like you want to work at a job that treats you like a human being, and if you want that, you have to vote with your wallet. And if you're hitting them in theirs, then that's just as good.
They'll see it.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what people
So
care about at the end of the day, which is fortunate, is the money.
it's well, they can't care about that for much longer. I mean, we all care about money to an extent, but there has to be some amount of human involvement, some empathy, some emotional involvement, and to like taking care of the people that treat you well, that make you successful. If you treat your employees like they're bags of shit, like don't be surprised if they don't put their all into work. It's actually a really strategic way of keeping your business like on top level, and nobody understands that. They're so used to working in this like 1950s mentality that does not suit the modern day. And now we're all pretty much like, nah, dude, it's fucked up that you think we're going to keep doing this, especially after a traumatic event that just happened to the whole entire world. You're expecting us to go back to business as usual?
Yep.
Fuck you.
It's
So,
funny you say that. There's a commercial that it pisses me off every time I see it. It's like a catering commercial. Um, it's like two people in an office and they're standing in front of a pool and a slide in their office. And like it's the boss and the lady. The lady looks at the boss. She goes, there's probably easier ways to get productivity up in the office. And it's like, yeah, just get catering. I'm like, no, just fucking pay your employees and let
yeah,
them form a union. Like it just pisses me off that commercial so much. I was like, fuck your free food.
100%. Oh my God. And it's like, that's the other thing is like, I think I trust me when I say that I understand that the pandemic like really fucked a lot of people up, including businesses. But my thing is that why is it that the richest men in the world became the richest men in the world literally in the past 2 years when we were down and out, where nobody was able to work, when they basically were riding on the backs of like their employees and like the subsidiary funds that they were getting from the government. It's just
Elon
like
Musk gets $4.9 billion in subsidies. Just got to throw that out there.
it's wild to me. It's so fucking wild to me. And I just get so upset about it because I'm like, you guys have all the money in the world to like make a humongous difference in how you do business practices and how you can show the the country what it's like to be a good boss, a good person to your workforce. You have the biggest workforce in the world. Like, why don't you treat them well? Especially Jeff Bezos specifically. Um, you could be a role model for how the business model that you have can still remain intact, but you can share that wealth and make the people that work for you so much happier. It's ridiculous that anybody even has that amount of money. I don't even think that you should have $1 billion. 100%. 100%. Anyway, I could talk about that.
Yeah. Like I said, it could go on a different whole podcast. But like you said, I'm happy you brought Bezos up because he made so much money. And what did he do with it? He went to fucking space. That's not the most dickheadish move I've ever seen. What respect, because it's evil villain move straight out of a comic book.
100%.
I'm like, if we're gonna fucking ride this ship straight to the ground, at least make it a comic book, and he's doing that. Right? I'm waiting for fucking Gundams to start beating the shit out of each other in the streets.
Oh my god. Okay, listen. If Jeff Bezos invents actual real life Gundams, I might have to be a Gundam pilot. I don't know.
You just join the military complex.
Listen, like I'll go rogue. I'll try and do what I can, but like you can like literally mind meld with a machine. Why would the fuck wouldn't I want to do that? That's so cool. It's the biggest puppy.
That's
the biggest puppy.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, we're nearing the end of the podcast. I have a meeting with my boss soon. So
oh shit.
Yeah, no, it's very good. We finished training, probably getting a key to the studio. Hopefully no more shitty Zooms. I could probably do some live stuff now. I'm very excited to see what's going on with that. But my last question I like to ask every guest is a music question, content question. When so me and you talk when we're tattooing, you will say sometimes you throw your headphones in, you like to just go. What are you listening to when you're going? Like, is it like a podcast? Is it music? Like, what drives you?
I'm usually listening to a podcast.
Really?
That podcast is either Last Podcast on the Left or it is Therapy Gecko, who I very much am in love with right now. Like
I saw you went to go see him live, right?
Did, and it was the
that?
best. He's so great. Like I'm really, really into that whole format. He's just an amazing. It's so cool how something so silly as dressing up like a gecko can really disarm people, and they'll actually tell you their weird stuff that they've got going on. Some of it's just like whatever early 20-year-old bullshit, but a lot of it is very, deep and meaningful and human. And I really am into that sort of experience. I like seeing people come together. It's really
I'll
neat.
send you a podcast that you might like. One of the comics I like, it's called Stavi Solves Your Problems.
Okay. I've never heard of it. We'll totally listen to it.
He's just a comic from New York where he doesn't do it as much anymore. He was doing it a lot during the pandemic, but like the advice still stands because it's all these people call in like, I'm a closeted trans person, like, I'm about to have surgery. He's like, all right, use that dick while you still got it. He was like, go plow. And the guy was the person called back in. He was like, you're right. I'm gonna go fuck. And he just like hung up. Like, it's just a great like one-on-one conversation, like between two people on the internet, don't know each other, but like have a stupid similar sense of humor. And it's just very, very funny.
Oh my god, that's awesome! I will totally look. What's it called again?
Stavi Soldier. I'll send it to you. Don't worry.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, I actually met him. Like when he did stand up. He's a very, very funny guy.
I can imagine.
300 pounds, bald, and missing a tooth. He's ideal.
I love a toothless comic. That's like, oh, that's so sweet.
He's great. Okay. Do you have anything to plug? Do you have your Instagram you want to share? 3 Kings Tattoo in Brooklyn.
Sure. Yeah, I would say that's pretty much it. Janda draws stuff on Instagram. I am Janda Farley at 3 Kings Tattoo in Brooklyn, the Greenpoint location, not the East Village or the Long Island. And yeah,
and that's the flagship store, right?
It is. We're the oldest one. We're the first, which I like. And we're a bunch of wild cats, so like I like that too.
And that's always fun going in there.
Other than that, that's it. I usually do guest spots, but because of the pandemic, I'm not doing any right now. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thank you so much. This is a great conversation. I'm sorry for the technical mishaps.
How dare you?
Shit happens when you're like time on it. I can go again another podcast on that, on the monopolies, on the internet service providers. But I digress. If you like me, if you like my content, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitch at Austin Can't Afford, or on Twitter at AustinJPiazza. I don't use the Twitter as much. Trying. Twitter just sucks. Thank you. I'll have a couple episodes out for you guys as soon as I can. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Janda, for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.